Session tonight regarding response to Rhode Island Department of Transportation's readiness review regarding the preferred alternative alignment for design and construction of the William C. O'Neill bike path extension. A couple of things at the outset. Many of you have probably heard that it'd be a lot of the expense associated with going through the originally planned version of this was quite high. So I'm going to turn this over to the town manager and to the head of community development. But I do want to say that I apologize for this. We really should have started this at 6. So I'm going to have, and so we may not get through everything tonight. But I think we're going to do is hear from them, and since so many members of the public have come out, hear from you, and then probably pick a date to continue with the work session. So I'm going to go to our town manager and to the Department of Mike DeLuca from Community Development to just walk us through the dollar amounts, the grant money and the dollar amounts, and what we're going to be confronted with in terms of the decision.
Excuse me. I had asked the council to put this on for a session because I knew there was a great deal of interest in it from people in the neighborhood and for the length of time the project's been going on. As you know, there's been a significant reduction in the funding. It's down to $3 million now. And without going into all the details right now, Mr. DeLuca is going to do a brief presentation, and if anyone would like a copy of the DOT report, I can get that out to you if you haven't seen it yet.
All right, Mr. President, what I'm going to try to do is just an overview. I could give you an hour's worth, right? But I'm going to try to give you 5 to 7 minutes worth. Let's see how I do. This project's been kind of in the works for about 20 years. The first couple of sections of the bike path were completed by 2003. Then the third section was completed in 2011, which brought the bike path to Mumford Road. These are all facts we know. Section 4A, the section going around the elementary school, is underway right now. That section was funded by a special pot of funds called the Green Economy Bond, which we had applied for and received $750,000. I'm going to forget the year, 2018, I believe. And of course, that's underway right now. So we come down to section 4B. It's the end of the bike path. It's only about 3/4 of a mile. No matter which of the alignments we considered, roughly 3/4 of a mile. 4,000 linear feet, something in that range. As you know, there was a feasibility study done in early 2000s. That was updated in 2015 by the same firm, Face Buffett and Thorndike. Both were contracted by RIDOT, so RIDOT did that work. The 2015 feasibility study updated and moved a little bit more forward in terms of detail on the numerous alternatives that were given consideration. And those alternatives were slightly changed between the 2000 report and the 2015 report. So that's the map of all 6 of the alternatives that were considered in 2015 by Face Buffett and Thorndike. And I'm not going to go through them all. I will remind everyone that in 2013, the council had voted to support alternate Route 1, which is the one that goes all the way up to the furthest north. This is just an orientation. Here's the elementary school. There is the soccer field next to the elementary school. That's the community center. That's in Hoxie Lane parking lot. This is South County Museum. So coming from the corner of the soccer field, alternate 1 was going to go very far up the former CV Railroad right of way, cross over about a 200-foot segment of salt marsh, and then come through the woods and then connect down and then wind its way down to this parking lot. That was the original one that the council in 2013 supported. In 2014, the council then reconvened and gave some thought to some alternatives. This one in yellow is alternative 2, and it crosses salt marsh also and runs into the site this way. The baby blue color is alternative 3A. Those were the ones that council in 2013 and then 2015 supported. So we've always been on board with any of those three. What came about in 2015 and really was the game changer was that at the same time we were doing a lot of work, Coastal Resource Management Council was doing a great deal of work on sea level rise. And where the NOAA firm maps are suggesting sea level rise on the order of 1 to 2 feet in a century, CRMC is projecting that to be off by like a factor of 3 to 4. So in the next century, we may have up to 7 or 9 feet of sea level rise. All three of these alternatives that were just discussed, the pink one, the yellow one, and the light blue one, would all be impacted by sea level rise. DOT informed us of that. Well, I'm not sure if it was CRMC or DOT, that these alternatives are probably not feasible no matter if you had an unlimited amount of money. So then they came back and said we need to do a readiness review of what could possibly be done. And so that discussion occurred, take a look at my notes, around 2017, give or take, and at the same time, DOT was looking at its TIP. Now, in 2017, they still had $8.43 million in the budget, in the TIP fund. But in 2018, that was when they rethought it, and that was at the time that that was the time at which DOT informed us that they were going to make a change in the TIP funding and reduce it from 8.43 down to in the range of 3 million. They didn't have that leveled out yet. They hired VHB, another engineering firm. VHB did the readiness report. I shared that report with you some time ago. And as Mr. Tierney said, we do have copies of that available for the public. In the readiness report, they did an analysis that indicated that an alternative, excuse me, oh, I'm sorry, that's 4A. I should have shown that while I was talking about it. An alternative that might pick up on alternative 4 could conceivably pick up from, here's the soccer field, now it's blown up a little bigger, the northeast corner of the soccer field. There's a pathway that runs down through the woods right here. It's another, not the sea view, a different railroad alignment, and it's on a berm. It runs behind the Sprague playground, not through it. So they thought that alternative 4 showed, if I showed you the previous slide, alternative 4 does this. When it gets here, there are different ways that it could go. And here is, by the way, Strathmore Street. I keep saying that's Strathmore Street. That's the red light. The ice house is over here, the gas station's here. So the thought was that there could be, and we know that the town's policy was that we didn't want any on-street segments, but in the interest of lower budget, using either Wanda or Othmar or both to get to this point, which is the Weeder Street pumping station. And then potentially going through the woods, there's a paper street right-of-way that the town owns that would go to here and then turn left and get into the Ann Huxley Lane parking lot. Now, I've got them in different colors for a reason. Yellow is the area that would be unchanged from alternate 4 that was in the plan going back even to 2000. This area here, the 2 streets are, a potential alternative. I know that there are members of the public not very supportive of that. The council had even expressed its opinion, previous council to you, its opinion to opposing any on-street segments. This segment here is a different color because it's not on the street. And it's on land that we own, with the exception of this single parcel right here. This would require a very small easement from this owner here. So we do have some issues. There's wetlands in this section here, and there are a couple of wetland crossings over here that might be issues. But the RIDOT staff seem to believe that the wetland crossings, given the limited scope of them, could be issued by insignificant alteration permit through Coastal Resource Management Council. at this juncture, I'm going to stop, it's 7 minutes in. I'm going to suggest that I turn it over to you, Mr. President. I do want to just pose some questions, and these are things I think we might want to use as stepping off points for discussion. And I'm going to read the first one first, but it really should probably be the last one, which is, does the town support alternate 4 modified as shown by the, in the readiness report? This is an exact reflection of what's in the readiness report. And noting that there are potential alternative alignments. Also, there are potential alternatives in the way we use the street segments, whether they're striped lanes or non-striped lanes. Question 2 would be, does the town stand firm, this is the alternative, do we stand firm on our pursuit of either alternate 1, alternate 2, or alternate 3A? The pink, the yellow, and the blue I showed you earlier. And if so, is the town ready to contribute funding? What we're hearing from RIDOT, what the tip is telling us is the state of Rhode Island is ready to ante up $3 million. They're not ready to ante up anything more than that. Does the town prefer a different terminus point? Do we need to go all the way to Anoxie Lane parking lot? That's a thought. And if so, if we want to entertain that discussion, where would you want to stop it? Would you want to potentially stop it here at the community center, which is where section 4A is going now? Or would you want to stop it here at the end of Sprague Park? Or somewhere in between there and Anoxie Lane? Thoughts? Last question, should we solicit, if we were to consider the on-road segment, should we go forth with some form of directed involvement with the residents of Wanda Street, Ockmar Street, be it a survey or a public workshop that would be an invitation workshop? So I'm throwing those all out there as possibles, and certainly each one of those questions might command more than a half hour, but I'll turn it back to you.
So the 4, usually our work sessions are kind of council work sessions, and we don't have a lot from the public, but in this unique circumstance, because we only have this short amount of time devoted to it, if council members don't have questions, I think I would like to hear what the members of the public have to say, and then we would have a follow-up work session. We'll try to see if we can pick a date tonight where then we can work through different options. But again, usually a work session is a place where the council kind of hashes things out and doesn't make a decision, but gets to a place where they can get ready to put an agenda item on because there's generally a consensus from the group. But I don't think we have the time for that. I see if we had small attendance, probably but since we have so many people here, we want to hear what people have to say about that. The bottom line problem is we're a little over 4 million less than what we thought we were going to get from the state for this. So with that, I'm going to ask everyone to just if they have anything to weigh in on this, and unless council members have questions for.
Yeah, one question.
For Jim and Mike.
How many people want the bike path to go on Wanda Street? Raise your hand. Or don't want to go on Wanda Street? Raise your hand. Okay.
What about Othmar?
Othmar? Anybody for Othmar? Othmar going once? Othmar going twice? No Othmar, no Wanda.
Richard?
Yeah, my point is perhaps a little different, but whatever the plan is, I request a bike path properties committee from the first moment. I've observed all sorts of capital projects here that have gotten mired in, and later on we have a properties committee that helps out. But from the beginning, we need a properties committee, because if $3 million isn't much, and since we're doing it, if we don't finish it, what then do we do? Mine is a request for a bike path properties commission from the first day.
Thank you. Yes, sir. And just say your name for our
Oh,
clerk.
Alvin Gabrillowitz, Othmar Street. No one said how much it would cost the town to complete that proposed path.
If we stick with what we had originally recommended, and DOT, after the green energy bond was passed, they have said they're not going to fund those routes. So that's the approximately $4 million shortfall.
So it would cost the town $4 million to complete that?
Not that, no, to do.
The other ones?
Right, DOT is suggesting to go on the road.
So
but
we don't know how
didn't-
much it would even cost, even though nobody wants it.
Right, because they essentially, I mean, I don't want to speak for them, they essentially would be, they're saying that's something they're suggesting, so that would come from their
All right,
piece
well-
of it. As you all, not you, you might not know this, but many of you may remember when this came up, the on-road parking, the on-road routes where the council was against
Yeah.
putting those as suggestions.
You know, I looked
3 or
at
4
the,
years ago.
at the work from that VBF, and they based it on safety, permitting and costs, and overall aesthetics. So, I mean, safety, there's 50 houses on those 2 streets total. So riding past 50 driveways on a bicycle, I don't know how safe that is. And then permitting and cost, I understand it would be a lot easier to do it that way. It would be cheaper, it would be faster, everything, and it would get done. But you have to think of the offset that. I feel that the residents would be picking up the cost. Yeah, it's cheaper for the town and everybody else, but who gets to hold the bag in the end? It's us, and is that fair? So that's, and the aesthetics, I mean, nice to ride through all the woods and see all that stuff, or do you want to go buy 50 houses? So my opinion is if you can't get the money to do it the right way, just don't do it. Don't put a detriment to all 50 homeowners to try and do a halfway job. You know, if you can't do it the right way, don't do it. That's about all I can say. I mean, this is Narragansett, this is not Boston with one-way streets and up and down and all that stuff. I mean, you know, so that's, for what it's worth, that's how I feel about it.
Thank you, yes.
Yes, Carolyn Petroselli, Rockland Street. Now, what I don't understand is, I was trying to find the town council meeting in which it was brought up that everything was like a win-win. I remember you stating that the state was giving us this 8-point-something million. And that was this past summer, or not that long ago. And I know you were saying that they had taken this away a couple of years ago, so I was confused, because after I heard that, I actually went over to, and it was, the path was gonna go through Canachet, I think, at that point. And that's what I thought I heard you guys talking about. And I couldn't find that particular meeting, unless I made it up in my head, I don't know. But was there something said?
The only meeting where we did a route from the town was when we voted, and I think that was in 13, right, Mike?
Yes.
Where we voted for the path through Canachet, and that was a suggestion to DOT, but since they did their green energy bond,
Yeah.
and it was passed, they've essentially reprioritized what they're gonna go for, and they're doing more with roads and bridges instead of bike paths. And so they're saying they're not gonna support going into essentially the
Wetlands.
the wetter part, right, the farm, right, the Canachet Farm.
Right.
So DOT had a workshop here at our town hall, and at that workshop, they expressed the fact that they had cut the bike path and added into the roads. So that's when it occurred, and that was like, what, 2 months ago
That was
maybe?
recent.
Oh, maybe that's
Yeah,
what I was
that's-
talking about, but I maybe didn't.
Up
Because I thought
until-
we still had the money.
Up until September 19th this year, the Transportation Improvement Program had $8.3 million for the Canachet Farm Trail. But then the transportation, the amendment to the transport, which was part of the public hearing earlier in the year, that's when that was passed, and now it is $3 million for the budget, and that's, which precludes going through Canachet Farm. But it was, you know, the money disappeared officially in September.
See, okay, so that's what I thought, okay.
I don't
Welcome
think
to Rhode
it
Island.
hasn't been up to the council since, it was at an offsite meeting.
Yeah, when I called them, they told me, whoever I spoke with there said that it was turned over to the town at that, but I don't know what date.
Yes, Karen.
Karen Chepshaw at Swander Street. How come in 2018, when we had all the money, and this has been going on for a long time, and we had all the testimony, why wasn't the plan implemented then? Because I remember Susan Cicilline Bonanno walking the various trails. There was the O'Brien Trail, Brady Trail, that was the word, and the Tansy Trail. We had all these PowerPoints and everything else. And plus, when you just did the PowerPoint presentation, you did not even mention taking over people's grass, going right through their yard, make a sidewalk, and we have very small yards. And you didn't also mention that you want to make it one way. And when this previous discussion was going on, I called Dean Hoxie, who was chief of police at the time, and I said, what is the safety plan for bringing it down Wanda Street? He said, we do not have a safety plan. So how can you, there have been no traffic studies of Wanda Street? And I'm not talking on a sunny day when the students are all and everybody's out. I'm talking about at nighttime, when there's a party, when it's beach time, when it's a weekend. And who decides that we're gonna make our street one way because it's more economically feasible for the town? What about, are we second-class citizens on Wanda Street?
Could I speak, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. DeLuca just presented the alternatives that the study gave us. The purpose of this meeting and another one that we will probably have later will to hear the input. It's not a done deal. There's no done deal. I've said that to you, Karen. I said that to the Smiths and a few other people. I said, it's not a done deal. This is the whole purpose of this meeting. The alternatives are thrown out there, and it's the purpose of people in the town to come and speak their mind.
You don't have to move the pink flamingo quite yet. So just sit tight.
Fly
We're not
away
gonna-
south.
We're not gonna move it.
But how can you
Mike,
even
I
do
got
a
a question.
strategic plan without doing a traffic study, an
All right,
engineering
we're
study?
not- we don't have any money. We don't have any money. We got 3 million. 3
Well, what
million.
happened to the money?
One
Well,
at a time.
Why
state took
wasn't
it.
somebody's
The state
foot on the
took it.
One at a
accelerator
time.
button?
Mike, $3 million. How much linear footage can we get out of that?
Well, in the report that was sent to us, the readiness report, they meaning DOT's engineers, calculated the cost of doing this alternative with an on-street segment, understand that that's part of it, for about 2.7 million. They rounded it up to 3 million.
All right, so
To
that's
consider
closer
the
to
time.
5, okay? That's closer to 5.
So, I can't tell you exactly what.
All right, why don't we do this? This is my idea, all right? We're deadheading at the community center, right?
Right at the moment, yeah.
Right, well, why don't we use that $3 million to
Where
where it ends there, and use that path that goes to Scrag Pond, and end it at Sprague Field? Right? And then you put a little chart there that says the beach is this way, tennis courts are this way, town hall is over there, and that's it. And we can use that $3 million to take care of our town property. And then these people aren't gonna have bike traffic, everybody's happy, and we got plenty of money to fix up that road, that bike path, the fence, maybe the park a little bit, and utilize that parking lot, do something with that parking lot.
Mike, can you,
So then
There's a
it's
certain amount
basically,
of latitude.
use that.
can you answer the first question that Karen had, because I know
Yeah.
you wanted to respond.
Just that, the short answer is why we didn't do anything in 2018 is because RIDOT wouldn't let us. When Mr. Maney was here with us, he and I we were kind of working the two punch with the RIDOT staff. He was calling certain members of RIDOT, I was contacting and meeting with other members of RIDOT, all with the intention of getting the contract. They call it a subrecipient contract. If they had given us the subrecipient contract and they had signed and we had signed, we would have had the $8.43 million. They would not sign a contract. We told them we were ready after they sent us one draft, we sent comments back. Draft number 2, we were ready to sign, and that was, I can't tell you when, but fairly early in 2018. So we were ready. DOT wouldn't go forward.
Wasn't the town, it was DOT.
Correct.
Matt, just a quick question.
yeah,
I guess for Mike, if you know the answers. Does the tip money expire if we don't use it by a certain time?
It does expire, but it's not imminent concern at this time. The tip money that was put in for this project was put in, actually I've got it, I'll put it up on the screen. Whoops,
Nice.
there we go. So it was put in for fiscal year 19, 20, and 21, and 22. Remember, the state fiscal year starts in October, goes to September. So fiscal year 19 officially ended. But I had conversation with senior staff person at DOT, and where you see that .12, which is $120,000 there in 2019, he called me back is what happened, and he got back to me and said, we just moved the .12 into 2020, so now you're gonna have 1.28 million in 2020 fiscal year, which starts a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So we're in fine shape time-wise.
But if we decide that we don't like any of these plans, and we wanna hold off for years, that money's not just always gonna be there.
If any project the RIDOT does they go through the same process. There's design, advanced design, permitting, construction. If design and advanced design don't happen, permitting doesn't happen for the first 3 of those years, I would say they'd probably take that as an indication that the town does not want the project.
Okay, and then my other,
And I think they would pull it back.
During the hearings for this, for the Transportation Advisory Committee, Department of Transportation person speaking, Tom Queen, was very clear that if you don't use the money, it's going elsewhere. There's no earmarks.
yep,
So if the town doesn't get started on this process, doesn't engage, I think in a year's time, that's gone. Because the Transportation Improvement Program is going to be revised next year for another 10 years.
okay.
So Mike, you think there's enough
So
money there
everyone's-
to reconfigure that, Sprague Field and?
Well, that's what they're gonna come back to us with. So
Do a
we've
budget.
been briefed on the problem, so what we're gonna need at the next one is this, basically the different options that we're gonna have, and have the council members work through that. So I was looking at, some dates that might be possible, see if these are possibilities for the council, because we need to give Jim and Mike some time to prepare a little more detail on each of these options that were presented to us. Because we have like the Veterans Day holiday, the off Monday doesn't really work there, but I was thinking if people on the council are available, there's 2 Wednesdays in early November, November 6th or 13th. Are those dates that would work?
Either,
Those are Wednesdays.
Sure.
at the same time, Matt, like at 6?
I think we should maybe do it at 6,
Yep.
if we do it on an off night.
Sure.
6 work for you guys
Yep.
out there?
Okay, so which night do people want?
6.
Monday, November 6th, all right. Will that give you guys enough time?
Yeah.
Okay. 6 PM. Okay, so I know there's one more speaker in the back I want to get to. That'll be our last speaker before and we don't need a motion or anything, we've just kind of scheduled, the work sessions, we don't really do motions, but November 6th at 6 PM, so yes, go ahead.
My name is Mary Kelly. I live on Othmar Street,
Yeah.
and Mr. Tierney told me to recognize you when I came in.
Oh,
Spoke to you on the phone.
I said introduce
I
yourself, thank you.
have 2 comments. One, I think it's a wonderful idea to have it stop at Strathmore, to go through the woods. We have bicyclists through Othmar, and I'm sure Wanda, all the time. Even teens go down the street without any problem. And we have beach walkers with all of their paraphernalia and their kids going down the street, and it's a very quiet neighborhood. There's no problem with traffic, there's no problem with safety issues, so I think it would be fine without disrupting everybody, putting in a sidewalk and doing one-way streets. It's fine the way it is. Those bicyclists and people going to the beach are fine using the streets the way they are. The second comment is there a way to let people in on these 2 streets, since they are so much affected, to let them know when that meeting is gonna be?
I would tell all your neighbors, I mean, and that
So
way.
it's up to us to tell our
Well,
neighbors?
yeah, I mean, it is, everybody's kind of engaged in their way, but yes, if you want, some people have contacted us by phone or email, and so anyone like that, I'll be sure to share with them, but yes, I mean, it's not a huge amount of people, so I think, yeah, I would tell your neighbors to come.
It'll be on our
November
website,
6th, it's on the
Can you announce
website,
it
it's
tonight?
posted, we'll
Announce
announce
it
it
tonight?
November
That's
6th
right.
at 6 PM, so. Again, that'll be more us getting briefed in a conversation between the council and Mike and Jim. It will be less of a public, be more like a regular work session, just be aware of that, so. But but that's why we'll do it on an off night, so we'll have time. All right, so with that, we're gonna
Excuse me,
conclude the
Matt,
work
is there any
session.
chance you could do it on the 13th instead? Because I have a big conflict that night, and that would give people more time to prepare their plans, do traffic studies, do strategic plans, whatever.
do the 13th instead.
Only if she brings the flamingo.
We have a council member who can't, so it's November 6th. All right, so,
Can I have one question?
sure.
If you're considering that a work session, will you have a public hearing after that if the people don't have enough time?
No, it'd be an agenda item, it probably wouldn't be a public, it may be a public hearing, but it probably wouldn't be a public hearing. It could be, it would be an agenda item would come from that, similar to how we work on, and like the beach fees, we get briefed on them, we come to okay, we say, what's everybody think about that? And then it goes on the agenda, and then at that agenda item, people can speak.
Because this is a very important item.
I'm not
And
saying,
there's so many
I
other
know.
things that have
Yeah.
public hearings.
I get it, no, I get it, right, nothing's set in stone, so just, all right.
And
Yes.
I think you also consider that, as Mary was saying, that they're currently using Launder and Ockmore for bicycle traffic. And bicycle traffic is increasing and will continue to increase. But the problem is not Launder and Ockmore, the problem is Narragansett Avenue along Lake Canarsie. It's a pedestrian nightmare. If you have bicyclists coming down Wanda Street and then heading towards the beach, they're on the wrong side of the road. So I think if you want to engineer a solution, you should start with along Narragansett Avenue. And you could probably do it for real short change rather than going behind Lake Canarsie.
All right.
Then you can integrate the bike path with the so-called Whittier Park, with the bicycle route that's going to be coming down from Whitfield.
There's gonna be opportunities, guys,
So-
for public,
so-
we have
no,
7:30.
but I
Right,
think-
we get it, we got, right, right, we're gonna, that's why we're doing a second one, right, we're not gonna slam bang through this. And I do apologize for not making this at 6 o'clock, I should have, it was my mistake. So we're gonna conclude the work session, we're going into our council meeting. Thank you all for coming, and we're November 6th at 6 p.m., right?
Nice job, Mike. I don't know.